The power of positive feedback, a little demonstration about how you can use positive performance feedback to fix an employee performance problem. This is an inspirational story. The point of the story is to show you the power of some of these techniques. The point of the story is to show you how powerful words can be in managing and motivating our employees. I thought it would be a good idea in the beginning of this program to give you a sneak peek about how these techniques work and how powerful they can be. Now, we've all heard about this concept of positive feedback, and it's a good thing, but I don't think we fully appreciate why it's a good thing and how powerful it can be until it's demonstrated how to do it the correct method. And that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to show you something that is deceptively simple. You might hear it and go, that's so simple, I knew that, I haven't learned anything. But actually, there's something incredibly powerful going on. And later on, I'll explain to you how to put together these exact words and also explain why these words are so powerful for employee motivation and changing employee behaviors. But first, a little bit of a demonstration. So the thing with employee performance is, as a manager, we sometimes have to give our staff negative feedback, or we've got staff that have a performance problem. But the problem is, who wants negative feedback? I mean, let's face it, no one likes being told what they're doing wrong. And giving your staff negative feedback can be stressful for both you and for them. Well, what if you could use positive feedback to fix an employee performance problem? I know it sounds a little bit crazy, so I'll tell you the rest of the motivational story. So for this, I'm going to use Carol. She's the problem employee in this situation. And a typical scenario, it's a minor performance issue, something that managers have to deal with every single day of their lives. The employee performance management, the usual way. Carol, the receptionist, recently she's been late for work, and as a result, someone else must stop what they're doing and cover the front desk until Carol arrives. Carol's behavior is affecting members of the team, but Carol's manager is hesitating to address this minor employee performance problem. After all, Carol's manager is already busy, he doesn't have the time. Carol knows what time she should start, and Carol's manager is worried that Carol's going to get defensive and Carol's going to come up with a number of excuses. So what usually happens is the manager ignores it, the employee problem remains, and maybe the manager makes a note for the diary, for the employee performance review, or there's just a mental note made somewhere. And what happens by not addressing her tardiness, the manager is sending the message that he's condoning the behavior. So how about doing employee performance management in a different way? So think about this. In a parallel universe, Carol's manager does something totally different. No, he doesn't undertake the unpleasant task of calling Carol into his office to have a serious talking about punctuality. Some of my friends call this the come to Jesus talk. You know, it's normally in the boardroom. It's everyone knows what's going on, door shut, maybe there's tears, tissues, etc. Instead, this manager does something incredibly easy and simple. He starts giving a particular type of positive feedback when Carol does something right. So some examples of this, what it would sound like, are, good morning, Carol. I like to see you at your desk when I arrive because I know there's someone here to greet our customers. Good morning, Carol. I'm glad to see you on the desk. When you're there, I know that everyone else can get on with their jobs without having to worry about covering reception. I appreciate that. Can you please keep that up? Good morning, Carol. I'm glad to see you here before start time. Now I know I don't have to worry about covering reception. Can you please continue with that? So I like to think of these as secret manager skills. I'm going to tell you, on the surface, it's pretty simple, but there's a lot going on. You know, looking at these simple words, you can see quite plainly that the manager hasn't said anything unpleasant. The manager hasn't had to delay his feedback until annual performance review. The manager doesn't have to call Carol into his office for big speaking to. And the manager hasn't spent a long time giving performance feedback. So he's using his secret ninja manager skills to fix a problem. So if you remember, we had talked about earlier about the power of words. And we had also talked about some of the things that not some of the things that people find important in work, but actually the most important things for people in work, the most important things that make people happy, make people want to work hard, such as people want to do meaningful work, people want to feel valued at their work, people want to have their contribution acknowledged, People want to fit in. People want to have a sense of belonging. And people want a good relationship with their boss. If you go through those words carefully, you'll see that those words actually provide all of these intrinsic employee motivators. The manager is showing Carol how she is appreciated. The manager is showing Carol how the work that she is doing is important to other people. The manager has shown Carol what happens when she's not around and how her actions affect other people. The manager has shown Carol that her work is important, even though a lot of people might think that a receptionist job isn't an important job. When people think of important work, they think of, curing cancer or working for a charity or being the CEO. But even a position like receptionist can be incredibly important to the running of the organization. The manager is also demonstrating to Carol that he's acknowledging her contribution. And there's something else going on here, not specifically related to the motivators, but it also demonstrates something I call the ICU principle. The manager is demonstrating that he's aware of Carol's performance, and he's also willing to address her performance. There's also something else incredibly powerful about these words that's snuck in there that you might not have even noticed. If you look carefully, you'll see that the manager is also asking Carol to come in on time in the future, and he's asking Carol to commit to coming in on time on the future too. So he's not just fixing a performance problem, but he's actually increasing Carol's performance. So what's your opinion? What do you think the result of these words of encouragement would be? With this sort of consistent feedback, do you think that it's likely that Carol will be late in the future? Well, I can tell you that based on the results that other managers have experienced, this sort of positive feedback doesn't just fix individual performance problems. What happens is that this performance feedback actually leads to the increased employee motivation, increased employee engagement, and increased employee retention. And that's all because of those other factors that I was talking about, around acknowledgement, feeling valued, doing meaningful work. And what's going to happen is that Carol's going to feel better about her job because she'll feel that her job is more important. And it's not just going to mean that she comes in on time. When she feels better about her job, everything else about her job, every other performance aspect of her job is going to improve. So it's a small effort in one area that actually has a much bigger impact on her role overall. And that's why I like to call it secret ninja manager skills. And it's a real demonstration of the power of positive feedback. I'd also like to talk a little bit about management by exception, because I think it's a management excuse, actually. The management by exception management technique is a management style where managers say they keep their eye on employee performance, and then they only step in when something goes wrong to fix it. Well, it's actually an excuse for not being a manager at all. And I'll just want to pick this out. Managers feel that they're quite good at spotting exceptions. And this is true because humans have evolved to spot exceptions. Those that didn't evolve the ability to quickly spot the break in the pattern, they went without lunch or quickly became lunch. But what this also means is that we consistently see what's wrong. We can easily see what's wrong. It just sticks out like a sore thumb, That's the expression. Well, what about the rest of your body? It's your sore thumb that's hurting. It's your sore thumb that's giving you pain. But actually, the rest of your body is okay. So the power of the story, the motivation behind this, is that let's focus on what's positive. Let's focus on what's going right. And management by exception is creating big dysfunctional problems with your staff, because when you're focusing on the negative, what's happening is your performance feedback is focusing on the negatives, and no one likes negativity. If you want to get technical about it, psychologists call this transactional analysis, and a critical parent response, critical parent action results in a rebellious child response. It doesn't fix the problem, it just results in protest and resistance. And the other problem about focusing on the negatives is that it does very little to build on your positives. And great managers know, great leaders know, that you get more benefit by focusing on your positives than by focusing on the negatives. Building on strengths is a much better success strategy than trying to fix negatives. And This negativity is making your employee relations dysfunctional. Like I said earlier, if you're consistently negative and critical, no wonder your employees don't like you. No wonder your employees don't want to listen to you. There was a study done by Dr. Gottman on healthy relationships, and in these healthy relationships, there was this magic ratio that there are 5 times as many positive interactions as negative interactions in healthy relationships. So if you're this manager managing by exception, actually all of your interactions are by definition negative interactions. You can't build a good healthy relationship by purely focusing on negative interactions. And yeah, a little bit of I'd like to clarify something about employee relations. Healthy employee relations don't mean making your employees like you as a friend. Healthy employee relations mean a good, healthy respect and having good communications. And positive feedback builds these good, positive relations. So I talked a little bit about the sore thumb. What about if you don't think that there's anything positive to focus on? Well, my quote that I think is relevant here is from a very wise man that you've heard of before called Dale Carnegie. And he says that about 90% of the things in our life are right. Make sure that you don't overlook the 90% of the things that are right because you're focusing on the 10% of the things that aren't. So, like I've just demonstrated, positive feedback isn't just for positive performance. The misconception is that positive feedback is for good performance only. But as I've shown above, you can and you should use positive performance feedback to also fix employee performance issues. And this works for employee performance issues, both large and small. So there's a lot going on with positive feedback. Those particular words that are selected are very powerful. And I'm going to be showing you how to choose the right words and how to introduce this to your staff so that your staff become receptive to the message doesn't take a long time to deliver, and your staff act on the message, because all feedback needs to be motivational. If your feedback doesn't result in the change that you want it to result in, it's not worth doing the feedback. So hang on tight, and in a future mini module I'll be showing you how to put together the feedback. So there you have it. That's the Power of Positive Feedback story. I hope that you enjoy the story. I really do enjoy that story myself. I think it's a good demonstration of something on a very basic level, but actually how words can be incredibly powerful, and how something that seems simple has actually got a lot more behind it going on, and how we can actually use positive feedback to not just address performance issues, which I think is quite amazing, but actually how we can use positive feedback to build employee performance, to build positive employee engagement, and also to improve the happiness of employees, bizarrely enough. So, like I said, the words are deceptively simple, and I will be showing you exactly how to put together those words. There's a model that you use to put together those words, and also I'll be showing you why those words are incredibly powerful. You've seen some of the why behind it right now. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed that, and I look forward to taking you over the performance feedback. What I've also covered is that I've shown that management by exception is really not a very positive way to manage staff, and we are also very good at spotting negative behaviors, but we can have much more success in life when we focus on positives. And when we see a problem, don't see it as a problem, see it as an opportunity to get your positive feedback out and work on your own power of positive feedback.